Knights, castles, and a whole lot of BO. That's how most people picture the Middle Ages: smelly, filthy, and allergic to bathing. But wait, what if that's not the full story? Sure, they didn't have indoor plumbing, shampoo, or endless hot water, but medieval folks weren't just rolling around in filth. In fact, some of their hygiene habits were shockingly clever, and honestly, kind of relatable. So let's bust some myths and dive into the surprisingly clean, and sometimes gross, world of medieval hygiene. Starting with... Forget what you've heard, the idea that medieval people never bathed? Total myth. Contrary to popular belief, it's one of the biggest misconceptions about the Middle Ages. In reality, they were way more into washing than you think. Public bathhouses were booming, especially in towns. Think of them as the original social clubs. Steam rooms, massages, food, gossip. Yeah, you didn't just get clean, you got caught up on local drama. From growing cities like London to bustling centres in the Middle East, bathhouses weren't just about hygiene. They were buzzing social hubs. Some bathhouses were even regulated like modern businesses, with separate hours for men and women. In some medieval cities, bathhouses were more common than taverns, and they could get just as rowdy. Imagine going to the public baths not just to get clean, but to trade rumours, pitch business ideas, or close deals. Hygiene and crowd control? Not bad, medieval folks. But hold on, this wasn't just for rich city dwellers. Even peasants in the countryside had routines. Heat water in a cauldron, pour it in a wooden tub, toss in hot stones, basically a DIY hot tub. No Dove body wash, no robes, just salt, lime, and elbow grease. It took effort, but it worked. Simple, effective, surprisingly refreshing. Sure, they didn't bathe daily, but they weren't just marinating in filth either. Bathing was regular, routine, respected, not some forgotten luxury. So, next time someone jokes about medieval BO, hit them with the truth. They were bathing, in groups, with snacks, and yes, sometimes they even shared the same bathwater. Medieval friendship was built different. So they were clean, but were they minty fresh? Time to investigate medieval mouths. Now you might be imagining crooked smiles, missing teeth, and painful cavities. Fair, but wrong. Medieval folks actually cared about oral hygiene. No whitening strips, no bubblegum toothpaste, but they weren't letting their teeth rot out either. One of their best dental tools? Chewing sticks, usually from trees like birch or hazel. Not for snacking, think of it as an early form of a dental chew. The natural fibres help scrub away food and funk. Turns out they may have had fresher breath than your college roommate, and they didn't even have toothpaste. And when things got serious, they'd rub their teeth with rough cloths coated in salt or crushed herbs like sage, believed to whiten teeth and freshen breath. Crunchy? Yep. Minty? Hopefully. Kinda like a DIY herbal toothpaste. They also understood the importance of rinsing their mouths with water after meals. It wasn't perfect, and conditions like tooth decay were common, especially as diets changed over time. Toothaches still happened, but they didn't just sit around waiting for their molars to rot. Clean bodies? Check. Surprisingly clean teeth? Check. But how about their clothes? Were they wearing filth or actually doing laundry? Think medieval people never did laundry? Time to air out the truth. Doing laundry in the Middle Ages was serious labour, but it wasn't ignored. Most people didn't wash their fancy outer garments daily, some only cleaned cloaks or tunics a few times a year. Gross? Maybe, but here's the catch. What did matter were the layers underneath. Most folks wore linen undergarments. Think of it as medieval underwear. These were changed and washed much more often. They absorbed sweat, protected the outer more expensive clothes, and made laundry way more manageable. Washing those linens? Not easy. Forget washing machines, it was all hands. Ash lye, that's a soap made from wood ashes and water, and a whole lot of scrubbing, beating the clothes and rinsing. Forget laundromats, try scrubbing your boxers in a freezing river. Streams and rivers became impromptu laundromats. The rich, they had laundresses, and sometimes entire buildings for it. Everyone else? Grab a rock, join your neighbours, and beat those stains into submission. Was it glamorous? Nope. Was it effective? Absolutely. So the next time someone says medieval folks wore the same crusty shirt for 10 years straight, remind them, there was a whole system. Sweat-wicking layers, regular washes, and communal laundry sessions, not bad for a world without detergent pods. Alright, so their clothes weren't disgusting, but what about how they looked? Because hygiene isn't just about being clean, it's about showing it. time to talk medieval beauty. Hygiene in the Middle Ages wasn't just about avoiding smells. It was about status, style, and sometimes survival of your social life. Hair? Big deal. People combed their hair daily, not just to look nice, but to fend off lice and dirt. No shampoo? No problem. A handful of rosemary in warm water and boom, medieval conditioner. It left hair smelling fresh and looking shiny, natural, practical, and straight from the herb garden. And perfumes, oh yeah, they were a thing. They weren't just for covering up bad smells, perfume was status. Style, pleasure, just like today. Scents derived from flowers, musk and ambergris were highly prized. Some nobles even kept little scent sachets in their clothes or tucked them into wigs because smelling rich was half the battle. Makeup? You bet. Wealthy individuals went for a pale look, a sign of nobility since working outside gave you a tan and tanning meant peasant. They used everything from lip stains to face powders, some of it lead-based. Beauty standards, but deadly. Your eyeliner shouldn't come with a death toll. Even nail care mattered. No acrylics here, but keeping nails short and clean was important. Why? Because they ate with their hands. Long, dirty nails equal social disaster. Medieval manicure game? Stronger than you'd think. So while they didn't have contour kits or 12-step skincare routines, medieval people definitely had a beauty regimen, and in many ways they were way ahead of their time. But not everything was so glamorous, because if you really want to know where things got rough, you'll have to follow them to the bathroom. Remember that filthy Middle Ages stereotype? This is where it starts to make sense. Let's talk about medieval sanitation. Brace yourself. So medieval people bathed. They cleaned their teeth, they even did laundry, but when it came to sanitation, that's where things get medieval. Imagine a world with no plumbing, no toilets, no trash pickup, no Febreze, just buckets and vibes. Now imagine you still have to go to the bathroom every day. Let's start with castles. If you were royalty, you had a garderobe, a stone closet built into the castle wall with a hole that dropped waste straight into a pit or the moat. Yep. That picturesque castle moat, not just for keeping out enemies, also for keeping in, you know. But for peasants, you had a chamber pot or a waste bucket. Do your business, open your front door, and toss it into the street. No, seriously, that's where it went. Right into the road. Forget trash day, they had splash day. Better yet, what happens when your drinking water is also your neighbour's toilet? Those same rivers? People drank from them, washed clothes in them, even bathed in them. If you lived downstream, good luck. They weren't just living next to their waste, they were living in it. And here's the scary part. They had no idea about germs, no concept of bacteria, so disease spread fast. Diarrhea, parasites, infections. Entire outbreaks born from one bucket tossed the wrong way. And yet, they tried. Some towns banned dumping waste in streets. Others hired rakers to shovel it away. Not glamorous, but it shows they weren't clueless. They were surviving the only way they knew how. So the next time your plumbing acts up, weren't alone in their beds. You've survived the bathhouse, dodged the chamber pot, now it's bedtime. Sounds cozy, right? Not quite. Forget memory foam, medieval peasants slept on straw mattresses, sacks stuffed with dry hay or reeds tossed on the floor or a wooden frame. Warm? Sure. Comfortable? Maybe. But clean? Definitely not. Because guess what else liked warm straw? Bugs, fleas, bed bugs, even rats. Sometimes it felt like your mattress had more tenants than your village inn. That's right, your mattress could be crawling with more life than the average farm. And while some folks swapped out the straw every now and then, most couldn't afford to. So instead, they tried to fight nature with herbs. Mint, lavender, chamomile, not just for tea. These were stuffed into bedding to repel pests and to keep the bugs away and the stink down. If you were lucky, you had linen sheets and a wool blanket to keep warm. If not, you shared that straw with your family and anything else that moved. No privacy, no silence, just snoring, scratching, and maybe something skittering. Sleep wasn't peaceful, it was survival. A nightly battle against pests, noise, cold, and the dark. Sleep wasn't just uncomfortable, it could be downright itchy. But it was survival. It kept you off the cold ground, and sometimes that was enough. So the next time you complain about your mattress springs, be thankful you're not rolling around with fleas and lavender in a sack of hay. And now that you're awake, let's talk about something even more uncomfortable. How did medieval women manage periods without any modern products? Get ready, because we're going there. Alright, we've talked about baths, teeth, clothes, even creepy straw beds, but now we're heading into a topic that rarely makes it into history class: periods. Yeah, medieval women got them too. And without pads, tampons or painkillers, managing it, that was a challenge. So how did they deal? Let's start with the basics. Rags. Old cloth torn and folded into makeshift pads. Reusable, washable, practical, not comfortable, but it worked. Some sources suggest other DIY ideas. Cloth wrapped around twigs, yes, twigs, talk about a splintery situation, or absorbent moss layered like padding. Sounds wild, but when you've got no store and no options, you get creative. Now imagine doing that while working in the fields, hauling water or raising kids. No privacy, no products, no break. And if you think that's tough, in some cases peasant women may have just gone without. No protection at all. They bled into their clothes and kept going. But it wasn't just physical discomfort, the stigma was real. Medieval society viewed menstruation as impure, even sinful in some circles. Women carried scented herbs or flowers to mask the smell, not for beauty, for shame. And here's another twist. Because of poor nutrition and hard labour, many women didn't menstruate regularly. Their bodies were under stress, so fewer periods, maybe. Easier, not even close. So next time someone complains about period ads or buying tampons, just remember, medieval women were out here bleeding into moss and linen, and still getting things done. Coming up next, let's talk food, water, and what happened when that went wrong. Because eating in the Middle Ages wasn't just about survival, it was a gamble. They kept themselves clean, but what about what they ate? Because in the Middle Ages, food and water weren't just fuel for survival, they were potential death traps. Let's start with water. You're thirsty, so you head to the river. Only problem, someone upstream just emptied their chamber pot. Yep, that same river, used for laundry, bathing, cleaning wounds, dumping waste, modern multitasking, medieval edition. If you lived downstream, you were basically sipping sickness, no filters, no boiling, just luck, and maybe a strong stomach. Now imagine using that same water to cook. Soup, ale, porridge, all contaminated before it even hit the bowl. And without germ theory, no one knew why people got sick. Disease just happened. Now let's talk food. Peasants ate what they could grow or store. Grains, beans, onions, root vegetables. Simple, filling, but not always safe. No fridges, no expiration dates. One mouldy sack of grain could ruin an entire winter. Too damp, you'd get ergot, a toxic fungus that caused hallucinations, sickness, even death. Imagine making your morning porridge and tripping for the rest of the day. Fresh produce, only in season. Grain, vulnerable to rot, rats and bugs. Humidity too high, your bread grew a beard. That's not mould, that's medieval. Meat, a rare luxury, and if you didn't salt or dry it immediately, it spoiled fast. Spoiled meat didn't just taste bad, it could kill. Even the soil wasn't safe. With waste leaking from cesspits and livestock everywhere, crops were often contaminated before harvest. So yes, they tried to eat clean, but with bad water, bad storage and no germ science, it was survival mode. Next time your fridge beeps because the door's open, be thankful you're not washing down spoiled stew with parasite soup. And now, things are about to get weird. Because medieval medicine wasn't exactly scientific. Get ready for bloodletting, parasite smoke, and the dreaded toothworm. They bathed, they brushed, they even fought rats in their mattresses, but when it came to medicine, things got weird. Like, let's bleed you with a leech and call it science weird. Medieval healthcare was a bizarre mix of ancient science, wild guesses, and straight-up superstition. Doctors believed your body was ruled by your fluids, called humours. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Get sick? That meant your fluids were out of balance. Too much phlegm? Better bleed you. Too hot? Time to purge some bile. And the strangest part, they linked those humours to the seasons, elements, even your personality. Feeling angry in the summer? Must be your fire humour acting up. But it gets worse. They didn't know what germs were. They thought parasites came from inside the body. Too much fruit? That could create lice, they believed. Spoiler, lice don't care about your fruit salad. So no matter how clean you were, if your water was contaminated or your house had fleas, you were still at risk. They just didn't know why. So what did they do when they got sick? Grab a candle, some glue and a prayer. You're gonna need it. And the cures? Oh boy. Got fleas? Smear glue on bread, stick a candle in it and hope the bugs crawl toward the flame. Lice? Try seawater or lavender smoke. Spoiler, didn't work. Toothache? That was a toothworm, a mythical creature eating your molars from the inside. The fix? Burn chamomile, inhale the smoke, and hope the worm runs away. Earache? Same idea. Pour in bitter herbs or sit over steaming water to flush out the invisible creature. And if the patient vomited or had diarrhea after, success! That was the evil leaving the body. Or you just poisoned them. But hey, same result, right? So yeah, medieval medicine was more theatrical than effective, but back then this was science. Wild, messy, sometimes deadly, but it was all they had. And coming up next, we're wrapping it all up, because after everything they went through to stay clean, were medieval people really that dirty? Let's find out. So, medieval hygiene. Not perfect, not pretty, but for a time without plumbing, microscopes or hand soap, they made it work. They bathed, brushed, laundered, scented, scraped, and sometimes smoked out their parasites. Was it weird? Yes. Was it gross? Sometimes. But was it clueless? Not even close. Now that you've seen what hygiene really looked like back then, think you could survive it? Drop a comment, and hey, wash your hands. You're still doing better than most medieval nobles. Knights, castles, and yeah, maybe a little BO. But not for lack of trying. Subscribe for more myth-busting history, because the past wasn't always what it smelled like.